Welcome back to the Stitches and Scribbles podcast. My name is Erin, and today I'm back with another podcast. I don't know where that intro was going. I just got back from a road trip. My husband and I drove down to St. Louis. If you watched our Vlogmas videos, you know that we have some family and friends who live down there, and my husband was actually running the St. Louis Marathon on this past weekend. So we drove down there to visit with family and friends. We had another friend who was running the race as well, which meant that I had a lot of car knitting time. So I do actually have some projects with some progress to show you today. However, I did not get as much done as I wanted to. So originally when we planned this trip, we were going to drive down on Friday. My husband took a day off of work. We were going to spend Friday night just hanging out with his family. Saturday morning, also hanging out with his family. We were going to meet up with some friends for dinner on Saturday night, and then he was going to run the race Sunday, drive home on Monday. That was our original plan. Unfortunately, I don't know if you've been watching like weather news in the Midwest over the last week, but our entire driving route was highlighted in red on Friday for tornado risk. So we had to change plans at the last minute. We ended up driving down on Saturday. We still made it to dinner with our friends, made it to Mass on Saturday and all that stuff. But it meant that I had packed for one more day than we ended up actually being there, if that makes sense. So originally when I was planning out my projects, I thought we were going to have like a Friday night movie with his family. I thought we were going to do that we were going to have an additional 48 hours there from what we got. So I definitely overpacked on my yarn. So I'll actually show you what I didn't work on. This is my travel bag, by the way. Wow, that was a really loud wheelie chair squeak. I brought this with originally in case I finished another project. I am planning on making a stockinette stitch tube scarf with this. I've made a couple of them before, but I didn't end up getting to it because I had less knitting time than I thought I was going to. So didn't end up getting to that, although I will do it eventually, but I'll probably put it back on my yarn shelf for the time being, because I probably won't get to it anytime soon because it'll be the next like travel project. So what I did work on while we were down there was my birthday scarf. I do have a dedicated vlog to getting that project started here on my channel. I started this project on my birthday this year, just as kind of like a fun thing to do. I had seen people do like Christmas Eve cast-ons and New Year's Eve cast-ons. So I decided when I saw those that I wanted to do a birthday cast-on. So this is what the scarf looks like now. I have used one full skein and a little bit of the next one. So where it's this like tealy green here instead of the lime green, that's where the new skein starts. But I am loving how this scarf looks so far. I think the colors are so fun. And this little green skull marker right here is where I started knitting on Saturday when we started driving. So this is my car project or travel project for right now, because since it's all in stockinette and knit in the round, I don't really have to look at it while I'm working on it. It's a really easy, just plain knit stitch forever until I'm out of yarn. So I worked on that in the car. That was also supposed to be my movie project. So that was why I thought that I was maybe going to finish it, because my husband's family is really into like watching movies or watching sports games together. So I thought that I was going to have Friday night and like Saturday morning of like TV knitting time to work on that. And that didn't happen as much as I thought it would. Also, like the day of the marathon, even though like I didn't run, I'm not a runner, because me and my mother-in-law were like all over the place, I was exhausted too by the time the race was over, because we dropped them off. We ended up like, I guess we did run a little bit, but we like ran through this park to get to the start line. Didn't actually see my husband start, but got to see my friend and my father-in-law start the race. And we wanted to, like, hit a couple points to, like, watch them run by. But my husband's too fast. We knew that we, like, wouldn't be able to drive in time to catch him. And also the, like, live tracking for the race wasn't working. So we couldn't actually see, like, what checkpoints they were passing along the route. Which meant that, like, driving all over the city to try to, like, watch them go by was kind of pointless because we wouldn't know if we had missed them or not. So we ended up just going out to brunch instead, which was very fun. And then drove back to the start, and they shuttled from the finish line to the start line. So that was our, like, full circle. But I ended up getting my 10,000 steps just in the morning on my Fitbit from running through the park and all of the places we, like, parked, and then walked to where we were going, and then walking back to the car, and just all this stuff where we were running around. So I was also exhausted Saturday afternoon, so I think everybody took a nap instead of, like, watching. I think baseball was on, maybe. Some sports game was on. I was not coherent enough to pay attention. We also had all gotten up really early. I know that I woke up at 5 so that I could take a shower before we went, because the day before we had, like, spent all day in the car and then immediately, like, went to church, then met up with our friends for dinner, and then it was, like, super late and we needed to go to bed, and I didn't want to go to bed with wet hair. So I had to shower, like, the morning of the race. Originally I had it timed out so that I wouldn't need to do that because I thought I would have Saturday morning to shower, but we were in the car instead. So that's my, like, very long description of what was going on throughout this weekend. But I didn't end up having, like, that extra day of knitting time to work on this project. Where was I going with that sentence? Oh, but that's the one I thought that I had a chance of finishing, which is why I brought the extra mandala skein. The other project that I brought with me and also didn't end up working on was the shawl that I'm making for my friend's mom who's getting married. Actually, it's the friend who's getting married is the same one who ran in the St. Louis. She did the half marathon. But same friend. So if you know who I'm talking about, don't tell her I'm making things for her. It's a surprise. I don't think she watches my YouTube channel, so it's fine. I'm getting a spam call, so I'm just hanging up on them. Anyway, I started working on her mom's shawl. So this is the Hobie alpaca lace in the navy colorway with the, like, gold thread running through it, held double. I did choose a different stitch for this one. This is a fiber spider tutorial. If you want, I don't remember what it is, but if you, and I'll probably forget to put it in the description, to be honest. So if you want to know what it is, leave a comment and I will find it for you. But I did end up working on this a little bit today because I was subbing today. So I picked an easier pattern that I had memorized a little bit better so that I could take it with me. And it kind of creates this almost like argyle looking pattern because it's like blocks of stitches with, like, crisscross lines in between. I don't even know if there's a good way to get that to show up on camera, but this is what it looks like so far. I forgot to put a stitch marker in, but I think I did, like, maybe 3 or 4 rows today, so, like, that much on the triangle. But I really need to crank this one out because the shower is April 22nd, so I now have 18 days to finish that shawl. I'm a little nervous, not gonna lie. So I will definitely be, like, monogamously working on that project until it's done. Which means I'm gonna have to be creative about podcasts because talking to you about one project for the next, like, 3 weeks is not going to be very exciting for you guys. But I've got some things planned to talk about so that we still have things to discuss here on the channel. But I brought that with me, again, thinking that I would have some downtime. I also tend to wake up very early So there's always time where I'm like kind of sitting in the bedroom by myself while my husband's still asleep. And that's when I tend to like catch up on YouTube and like work on a project with my neck light or with like a small lamp so that I don't wake him up. But that didn't end up happening because the only day that like that could have happened was race day. And then by Monday when we were driving home, it was the day we were going to drive home, everybody else left for work, so I just went and sat in the living room, and at that point I didn't want to like pull this project out of my backpack to work on it, so I just worked on my birthday scarf, which was fine. I'm glad that I got some progress on that because I haven't worked on it in a while, but I did more than double the original length of the scarf, so that was exciting. But yeah, those were my crochet and knitting plans for while I was there. It didn't quite go as I thought it would, but I still got a lot done on my birthday scarf, which was really nice. The other thing we did while we were there, we ended up having kind of not a miscommunication over Christmas gifts, but we chose to mail our Christmas gifts there, but they wanted to wait and give us ours in person. So they had already gotten Christmas gifts from us, which you would have seen some of what we were giving them in my Vlogmas videos if you want to check it out. I made some book covers for my mother-in-law and my sister-in-law, and I don't actually remember what else I did. I know I gave them books, and I gave my father-in-law like a desk organizer thing. But we had to open our Christmas gifts from them. So the crochet related thing that I got, I should have brought the other thing down. Oh well, I'll have to show it in the next podcast. From my mother and father-in-law, they gave me a kitchen scale for weighing yarn, specifically like if I ever do decide to put physical items on my Etsy so that I can estimate shipping, so that Etsy can like print my shipping labels and everything. But also for socks so that I know how much yarn to use for one sock versus the other. But from my sister-in-law, she gave me this fantastic book called A Crochet World of Creepy Creatures and Cryptids, 40 amigurumi patterns for adorable monsters, mythical beings, and more. And this is by Ricky Gustafson, who's the founder of Crocheted by Ricky. And that's Ricky, R-I-K-K-I. Just for spelling, and Gustafson is Gustafson. Very, very excited to make absolutely everything that's in here. I think my favorite patterns that I've looked at so far, let me see if I can find them. One of my favorites, which I had never heard of this little guy before, is the Leshy. I'm going to try to only show the image. Hopefully it's too shiny for you to like see the pattern. But he's a very cute little skull with antlers. The description of this little guy, he's a forest spirit from Slavic mythology who protects animals, forests, and marshes. And he's mostly benevolent unless someone enters the forest with sinister intentions. So I liked the story behind him, but also it's a little skull, which if you've been around for a while, you know I love skeletons and skulls and everything like that. I also loved, there's a Mothman pattern in here. There's a Chupacabra pattern that's very cute. Mermaids, fairies, there's a Kraken. Lots of like Greek mythology creatures like Minotaurs and Cyclops. There's a zombie, but very, very cute. Overall, you can see some of the little guys back there. We've got Mothman, Kraken, a Grindylow, a Phoenix, and Frankenstein. So highly recommend this book. The pattern directions also look really straightforward so far, so I'm excited to dive into that. And I don't know if I have anything else to tell you about. I really do apologize for the number of short podcasts, but it's been like a very busy couple of months. As you guys know, if you've been watching podcasts, I am also a substitute teacher, and it's kind of odd because I didn't expect to be subbing as much as I currently am. I thought it was going to be like a once in a while type of thing, but I think I've been there almost twice a week for a couple months now, including some weeks where I was there like every day. So it's definitely a bigger time commitment than I thought it was going to be, but it was good because like I'm not making money off of YouTube at the moment, although I am like inching closer and closer. So eventually that will be part of our monetary situation. But it's not right now. So subbing was a really good way to like just add a little bit of extra income, at least like until YouTube goes through or is like matching that. But I actually really like subbing, and subbing is like pretty consistent. Like it's a dependable number of days per month that I tend to get. So I'm starting to like reevaluate what my career plan looks like again. And I kind of thought about it, and like honestly, I think the thing, like if YouTube starts making money and I need to like ease off of one thing, I think the thing I'm going to have to ease off of is craft fairs. Like as much as I love doing craft fairs, it's a huge time suck for a very inconsistent payout, if that makes sense. So like obviously I'm at the point now where I don't need to start from scratch every year for making things for the craft fair. Like I have a pretty significant stash of stuff, but I don't need to like make a ton of stuff this year to get started. There's a couple of new items that I want to try, but I don't need to like start over and spend like a huge amount of time making stuff right at the beginning of the season. But it's like for each event I go to, I maybe sell between like between like maybe like $50 worth of items up to like maybe $200 worth of items, depending on the event. I've had some like events that were significant outliers where I made way more than that, but they're very few and far between. But for each like, you know, hour that I'm at a craft fair, the like number of hours I spent doing prep work or like transporting things there or packing things up, like the number of hours doesn't quite match up to like what I'm getting out of it monetarily, which is fine. Like it wasn't meant to be like a full-time job. Like my plan was always to like piece a bunch of things together. But so far with like what's going on now, that's starting to look like the one that's the least valuable to me. And also like if I want to continue building an online presence, I really need to put more effort into like designing patterns and doing videos. And that's not something I can do if I'm also like cranking out massive numbers of items. Like I still love to do custom orders for friends and family and things like that, but I think moving forward, if I really start to build my online presence and having that be like an actual contribution to my income, I think craft fairs are going to be the first thing that I kind of like take a step back from. Not that like I would stop creating entirely. Like I love creating videos for you guys, but craft fair things is starting to feel less creative because I have to make like at least a couple of each item in order for it to like sell well. I can't just do one-offs of things. That also would mean I would spend a lot more time looking for patterns if I'm just doing like single individual items. I do have people who request items that like I no longer have in stock, so I have to keep bringing them back and stuff like that. So craft fairs, as fun as they are, and I think they were a really good jumping off point for me, and I'm still going to do them this year because I'm not monetized on YouTube yet. But I think that will probably be something that declines a little bit in the future. Maybe not doing them as frequently so that I can focus more on my like digital products online where I don't have to like physically go to a craft fair in order to sell them. Nor do I have to keep making the same items over and over again. I just make the pattern once and put it on my Etsy store and it's done. So yeah, that's kind of not the direction that I originally meant to go, as usually happens here, but that's kind of the sort of plan moving forward. Obviously, like, my biggest goal right now is to get monetized on YouTube, but I think that that is a reachable goal right now, which feels kind of strange to think about, but I am getting there ever so slowly. So that once that happens, I can kind of more reasonably devote more time to YouTube, because while it's still unmonetized, it feels kind of silly to do that. But yeah, those are my thoughts right now. That's what I've been thinking about, what's been rattling around in my brain the last couple days. But with that being said, I think I am going to go ahead and end the podcast here. Another short and sweet one for you guys, but I hope you enjoyed watching and listening anyway. If you want to follow me on other social media, that information will be in the description box below. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, everyone.